I call to order the City Council business meeting for October the 14th of 2025. City Clerk Clark, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember O'Rear.
Here.
Councilmember Root.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Roche.
Here.
Councilmember Pinkerton. Here. Councilmember Hutchings.
Here.
Mayor Shoemaker.
Here. Please rise as you are able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Each member of council has received a copy of the minutes for the September 9th, 2025 business meeting. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions to the minutes? I have one. Under the executive session, the second paragraph, it says authorize the city administrator to expand funds. We need to strike that word and replace it with the word expend funds. Any other corrections? Hearing none, then the minutes will stand approved as amended. At this time, it's time for citizen comments, and we'll begin with Mandy Splawn.
You ready?
We're ready.
Hello. Okay. Hi, I'm Mandy Splawn. I live at 410 Astor Drive in Poinsettia neighborhood. Mayor Shoemaker, City Council, South Carolina Department of Transportation, public safety officials, and fellow Simpsonville residents. I am speaking today on behalf of Simpsonville residents and as a homeowner in Poinsettia regarding the City Council's resolution to install a crosswalk at Poinsettia and East Curtis Streets. That includes a fire station signal supported by the Simpsonville Fire Department. It is my understanding that the city received a grant to cover a portion of the cost in this crosswalk would be installed earlier this year. However, it has been brought to my attention by a city councilman that SCDOT is wavering on the installation of this crosswalk. Since the holdup of this crosswalk appears to fall on SCDOT, I would like to present some facts directly from SCDOT's website along with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. SCDOT has a South Carolina Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Action Plan final report that was dated on May 13th, 2022. In that report, South Carolina roadway users are among those most at risk for pedestrian and bicycle crashes across the United States. South Carolina ranks 5th in the nation for pedestrian fatalities based on population from 2009 to 2019, with pedestrian fatalities increasing 80%, and bicycle fatalities have more than doubled across the state. Pedestrian and bicycle fatalities comprised more than 20% of all highway deaths in South Carolina. A total of 759 pedestrian fatal crashes occurred during a 5-year study from 2015 to 2019. The majority of those crashes involved a pedestrian that was struck by a vehicle while crossing the roadway at a mid-block location. In 2020, 16% of children ages 14 and younger killed in traffic accidents were pedestrians. Additionally, figures released by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in 2022 shows South Carolina bicycle and pedestrian death rates were among the worst in the nation. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration also reported in 2020 that South Carolina was second in the nation for the number of pedestrian deaths per 100,000 population. With 187 deaths, pedestrians comprised of nearly 18% of total traffic fatalities in the state that year. For time's sake, I've got to circle on. I could go on and on with studies performed by SCDOT and others. However, for time's sake, I want to mention that our beloved city of Simpsonville has worked hard to create a beautiful city park for all to enjoy for many years to come. In this, pedestrians and bicyclists need safety measures put in place. South Carolina Department of Transportation, this is for you. Why the holdup? What is your excuse for waiving the installation of this crosswalk? What other safety options do you have in place for protection of our residents and our fire department? To the SCDOT representatives that will read this, I challenge you to find a reason why a pedestrian or bicycle death should fall on your hands by waiving the installation of this already approved and partially funded crosswalk. I know I don't want the blood on my hands by not speaking up in this meeting, which is why I'm here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Becky White.
Point of order.
Councilmember Roche.
I'm wondering if Mr. Derby could maybe check that microphone before our next person speaks, because I don't know what it sounds like on your side, but we can't hear anything. Yeah.
Give that one a test.
Testing.
Is that better?
You hear it better?
Okay.
I'm Becky White. I'm a neighbor of Mandy's. I live on Astor Drive as well. And I'm also concerned about the traffic light. It is very hard to get out of the neighborhood from that intersection, the main exit and entrance to Poinsettia. I never go that way. I always go to CVS and around. I try to walk every day, trying not to drive as much because I have health issues and problems with my eyes. And I would love to be able to walk over here to the park. When the farmers market was behind First Baptist Church, I had no problems either walking over there or driving and finding a place to park. And I went every Saturday since 2020 until we moved the farmers market over here. And I have been 4 times since then. And every time I have driven over here, several times I just left because there were so many people and there was no parking. And I have started pulling into a parking space and had people step right in front of my car, right in front of me. Or backing out, the same thing, people walking right behind my car. And so I just don't go to the farmer's market anymore. And it would be nice if we were able to walk across. And that's really all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Next is Emily Mejia.
Hi there, good evening. My name is Emily Mejia. I live right down here in Poinsettia. My address is 101 Hillpine Drive. My children and I love to walk to our pool in our neighborhood, to over here to the park, and it's a hazard every time. And my daughter and I biked over today, and any time of day, but of course right now is rush hour. We counted over 50 cars. Nobody stopped for us. Of course, there's no crosswalk. And a fireman actually came out into the road and then said to us, we really need a crosswalk here. And I just wanted to echo the sentiment. Some of my neighbors have said the same and can't be here tonight. It's just a safety issue, a health issue, because we want to take care of ourselves and not always drive. Just 2 minutes here. We could definitely walk and make use of the space and make it safer for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ann Miller.
Good evening. My name's Anna Miller. I live at 301 Hillpine Drive in Poinsettia, and I'm here with my main motivation for being here tonight, the very unsafe crossing conditions that we have for the Simpsonville City Park. We try to go every day if we can. Doesn't matter what time. We are having issues with people not even considering that people are trying to cross there from our neighborhood is what I experience. I'm there with a really big stroller heading across, and people will, of course, be courteous and stop and try to let me go, but then someone is coming behind them, and they are actually using the fire department's platform concrete area to go around that person because they believe that person is just turning left into Poinsettia, and they're actually going around and then realizing that the person was stopped trying to let me go. So basically just for SCDOT to put something in to remind people that there are possible pedestrians crossing there, children trying to cross there. Luckily, we're together, but eventually she'll be old enough to want to go to the park by herself. And I just believe that we could start this now with putting something up to make it safer for all of us trying to walk to this beautiful park that's been made. So thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our citizen comments. Council, if you would pass this down to Clerk Clark for me, please. To our business items, beginning with item 6A, second reading of Ordinance O-2025-08, short-term rental ordinance. Mr. Derby, would you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This is the second reading of the ordinance to allow short-term rentals in our Code of Ordinance. Just a little recap from the last first reading that's changed. HOA approval notification, language regarding updating the agent for the permit, and parking standards were amended at the last reading. Nothing has changed since the first reading. I will mention in your packet you were provided a memo from our attorney, Mr. Hughes, and it did have some discussion items in there regarding some clarification with some of the language, and I will let Mr. Hughes kind of explain those. I did go over that the first reading, but I don't think it was provided to you in writing, and those were provided in the meeting packet for tonight.
Mr. Hughes, do you want to do that before we move into discussion?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, happy to, Mayor and Council. So the after my review, these were not what I consider substantive changes, but clarifying wording in the ordinance to make sure it reads better and the terms are clearer. And so you have a memo from me summarizing those changes, and I'll just go through those briefly, and you're happy to answer any questions from Council during the discussion portion of your consideration. Section 294, I clarified that the business license regulations do apply to a short-term rental permit holder. Section 10-295-3 clarified that proof of ownership to be shown by a deed. Section 10-294, subsection 4, I specified the applicant to provide the number of bedrooms within the short-term rental being rented, and that goes hand in hand with the limitations for the number of adults allowed per bedroom as set forth later in the ordinance. 294.11a removed the word exemplar, which did not believe was necessary. 294a11d clarified that all technical codes apply, and the technical codes I'm referring to are those that are adopted by the city as approved by the state building codes committee. 295b, this language was confusing to me as the way it was written, so I clarified the fee and permit requirements. 297d, this established service upon a short-term rental agent, and I believe I in the last meeting, I set forth the reason for this is that if there is a codes enforcement issue and the owner needs to be served and the owner lives out of state, it becomes very cumbersome and sometimes even impossible for our codes enforcement officer to perfect service upon the owner. So once they're required to specify a short-term rental agent who has to live within a 12-mile radius of the property, and we can serve the rental agent with the codes violation, and that constitutes good service upon the property owner, which allows us a better ability to enforce a codes violation. And then Section 298C, the appeal provisions for a denial or revocation of a short-term rental permit, I amended it, and it mirrors the current language for denial and revocation of a business license. So I wanted those terms to be similar.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Yep. A motion is in order.
Okay.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Mayor and Council, I make a motion to approve on second reading of Ordinance 0-2025-08 short-term rental ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Hutchings with a second from Councilmember Roche. Discussion? Councilmember O'Rear.
Yes, I spoke to Mr. Derby briefly and Daniel also, maybe some clarification on 10295A8 concerning the written certification of the short-term rental agent that properties located in a neighborhood HOA. The spirit of what I was wanting to do there was to make sure that a short-term rental agent didn't have to literally hunt down an HOA president or someone. And Mr. Derby, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, it sounds like electronically we can just check, they can certify by checking electronically. I would be fine with removing the word written out of there in order to expedite that for the city. If does that sound okay to Mr. Hughes? Would that work?
I'm fine with the word written. I don't believe that negates the ability for the city to put a checkbox on an electronic form.
Okay, perfect. And that's all.
But I have not talked with Mr. Derby about his concern. So if you have anything that you want to talk about.
No, sir. That's kind of what I want to make sure was something that the applicant is affirming that they have obtained approval, or they know that there is approval to do this in their HOA. And we have that right now as a checkbox requirement for home-based businesses.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Note, reading through the ordinance, I noticed several typographical errors. If you could proof it one more time, possibly you might be able to get that cleared up. I don't think any of that changes the meaning of the ordinance, but there's several typos in there.
Point of order. Ask our city attorney, is that okay if we vote to approve this ordinance? Is it okay to correct the misspellings?
If there's just misspellings, typographical, scrivener's errors, we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from council? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. On the motion to approve on second reading of Ordinance 0-2025-08 short-term rental ordinance, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying no. That motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Item 6B, second reading of TX 2025-02, miscellaneous refinements to the zoning ordinance. Mr. Derby, would you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Council, this is the other portion of this process. This is the zoning ordinance we're updating to reflect the ability to have short-term rentals in our residential districts. From the first reading, the only thing that was amended was the parking standard strike-through, so nothing has changed from the first reading.
Thank you. A motion is in order. Councilmember Roche.
Mayor, I move that council approve upon second reading TX 2025-02, miscellaneous refinements to the zoning ordinance.
Second.
From Councilmember Roche with a second from Councilmember Williams. Discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
All opposed signify by saying no. That motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Item 6C, Planning Commission appointment. Mr. Derby, would you summarize, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Council, we have one vacant seat on our Planning Commission. Mr. Lauren Dool has stepped down, vacating his seat. Planning Commission is a 4-year term. He does have a year left on that seat, so this person that you will be appointing will just fill until 2026. The city did receive 7 applicants in total. 5 of those were qualified. Staff did reach out to them to verify their qualifications. They have presented to you for selection for tonight. So you'll be selecting one of these people from this list.
Okay. All right. All this begins to happen with a switch to this process. So, Council, if you will recall how this works, we have 1 opening to fill and 5 candidates. If you would please, you've each received a ballot. If you would mark your ballot as round 1 in case we go to additional rounds so that we can, for the record, we can keep this straight. We do have 1 opening. So if you would please, from the list of 5 people on your ballot, choose the person that you are voting for and sign it and pass it down to Clerk Clark, or she will come by and pick them up to tally the votes.
We have a tie between Puzio and St. John.
If you would give me the tally for each candidate, please. Has how many votes?
3, and St. John has 3.
Could that be? That doesn't work.
Bender has
Should be a
1.
total of 7.
Yeah.
Bender has 1.
Okay.
I can get this to go. So Puzio has 3. So many? 3? Who has 1?
Bender.
Bender has 1. All right. So in that case, the candidates with the least number of votes are eliminated, and we are going to narrow this down to 2 remaining candidates. So Dane Lytle is eliminated, Stephanie Kalina Metzger is eliminated, and Zoe Bender is eliminated. Now, if you would mark your ballot, round 2, and vote for either one of Puzio or St. John. Just for clarification for those of you in the audience, it requires a majority of council that is present at the council meeting to appoint someone to a planning commission or election commission or something like this. So in this case tonight, a person has to have 4 votes to be appointed. And we go through a process of elimination of narrowing it down until we get to somebody who receives 4 votes.
Puzio has 4 votes. St. John has 3.
All right, so there it is. Our new planning commissioner is Aiden Puzio. Item 6D, second reading of Ordinance O-2025-09, appropriate funds from the sale of the old City Hall property to a Stormwater Initiative Fund. Mr. Pinkerton, this is your item. If you would summarize, please.
Thank you, Mayor. In the last reading, the first reading of this ordinance, we approved it with an amendment proposed motion by Mayor Shoemaker to direct the city attorney to develop working provisions for easements. Those easements provisions have been addressed by the council, and I think they're appropriate. So I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 0-2025-09, appropriate funds from the sale of old City Hall property to a Stormwater Initiative Fund.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pinkerton with a second from Councilmember Roop. And I just picked one. So, discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed signify by saying no. That motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Item 6E, first reading of Ordinance O-2025-10, amending the business license ordinance to update the class schedule as required by Act 176 of 2020. Director Tooley, if you would summarize for us, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. South Carolina's Act 176, the Business License Standardization Act, requires every municipality and county government with a business license tax to update its business licensing class schedule every odd number year to go into effect the following year. As such, 2025 is a time to update your licensing practices to remain in compliance with the state law. The class schedule updates use the latest statistical data on business profitability from the IRS, which then receives approval from the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office. The City of Simpsonville must adopt these by December 31st, 2025 to address those licensing renewals that will take place for the license year running from May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027. Before January 1st, 2026, you should not use this updated class schedule and should instead to continue using the current class schedule. Once the class schedule update is completed, you won't have to handle this process again until 2027.
Okay, thank you. A motion is in order. Councilmember Williams.
Mayor and Council, I move to approve the first reading of Ordinance 0-2025-10, amending the business license ordinance to update the class schedule as required by Act 176 of 2020.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Williams with a second from Councilmember Roche. Discussion? None. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed signify by saying no. That motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Item 6F, executive session to discuss employee compensation and contractual arrangements. A motion is in order. Councilmember Roche.
Move that council move into executive session to discuss employer compensation and contractual arrangements.
Second.
All right. Motion from Councilmember Roche with a second from Councilmember Roop. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed signify by saying no. That motion carries by a vote of 7-0. City Council will not take any action during executive session to adjourn or except to adjourn or return to public session. Council will not commit this public body to a course of action by polling of members during executive session. City Council has voted to enter into executive session as allowed under South Carolina Code 30-4-70, paragraph A, subparagraph 1, and paragraph A, subparagraph 2, for the purpose of discussing compensation of employees and contractual matters. Upon coming out of executive session, Council may reconvene the meeting to take action on matters discussed in executive session. I do not anticipate that we will be returning to public session, but we might. Council is in executive session.